question's for Darren, and I'm just wondering, considering the tribes being able to work with public lands and sounds like the university, how is that translating into other states where other tribes are? I mean, I know like in my state of California, with the Yurok tribe was just able to take over the Klamath River and remove the dam, which is great, and that was with the Forest Service, I believe. So I'm just wondering, how is this going to become a domino effect, hopefully? If you could speak on that.
Yes, that would be the best thing for sure. In fact, I teach a class here at the U called Indigenous Land Stewardship. We talked a lot about the 4 dams. That just unprecedented. I never thought I'd live long enough to see that. So I think we're seeing momentum around the country on tribes being able to through the court system and working with local and state governments, getting land back and doing things the right way. The Yurok and Karuk tribes and their prescribed burning, and I mean, there's just so much wealth of knowledge out there that I hope it gains more traction for sure. But yeah, we're just trying to work within the system that we have. I've lived long enough to know that I'm not changing the system. But small victories, we'll take small victories all day. And hopefully they'll continue. As people see, you know, you let tribes co-manage, just how much better it turns out. And so I'm just dumbfounded that we have thousands and thousands of years of this knowledge system and we discount it. Like, it's not Western science. Hell, science has got us into the problems we've got today. Now we're asking science to get us out of it. That's crazy. So, yeah, hopefully it'll gain momentum.
Okay, questions? No question? Oh, okay.
I have a question about the St. Mary's Creek or waterway. Has there been an effort to work with the neighboring ranchers and using something like, I think it's called virtual fencing with the cows to make sure they don't go outside of where they're supposed to go?
Like to prevent trespass into the exclosures? I don't think so, but yeah, that's something that you know, Western Watersheds Project is kind of keeping tabs on across the West, different areas where virtual fence is being implemented and what it might mean, what advantages there might be or what disadvantages there might be. You know, if it meant removal of a lot of physical fence, then you could understand how that might be a benefit to wildlife. However, if it meant more effective utilization of the land by cattle, then you could see that it may, you know, increase impacts to a lot of different places where they haven't happened and you know, result in a lot more impact to the land. So, but in this area, no, I'm not familiar with any projects where it's happened next to this one.
I'll just jump in real quickly. So when I was there last year, they redid all the fence, and there has been chronic trespass issues up there. But when I was there in September filming, clearly cows have been in there a long time. So we reported this to BLM, and they did get somebody out there, but clearly BLM is uninterested or they're understaffed to be able to actually do their proper monitoring. So it just seems a little crazy to, you know, to drive 500 miles to discover this and report it when, you know, the local BLM office is just not doing their rounds. So they just seem generally unconcerned, but that could also just be me projecting a little bit.
I'd like to add one thing on the virtual fencing. So I did some work at New Mexico State with the virtual fencing, and virtual fencing can work on fairly level land, but if you get this kind of land, then you have to have line of sight, and the line of sight gets broken, and then you have to have every cow chipped. And then if your trespass cows, if your neighbor's cows aren't chipped, then it doesn't work on them. So there's some real hopeful applications for that in the future, but it's pretty tough right now on that big landscape.
Any more questions? Got one down there.
Dave, what's happening in the next year at Birch Creek? What's your goals?
Well, we're going to continue to fight crime and suppress evil. We are able to turn horses on to the Forest Service allotment. It's a cattle and horse allotment, and we are permitted to have horses on that from June 15 to September 15. At that point, we have to take them off the mountain and back down onto our private again. And we are collecting data this summer for the BLM on their allotments. And those are the lower elevation allotments where the horses would spend, we're hoping to spend the winter, and we're putting in a proposal for them to change the class of livestock from cattle to horses and bison there over time. So we're still going through the NEPA process with the BLM and are not permitted to have either horses or bison on the BLM. We are working with some local ranchers, and we are allowing them to put cows at at quite a bit lower grazing levels. For the BLM, you can lease out your AUMs to someone. So that's what we're doing with them there. And that's where we're going forward this year.
I have more, this is more of a comment than a question. I'd read somewhere about the moose in Nevada, and those of us, I think it was a Hook and Bullet publication, or the world, and it's just to Dave's point about niches. It's remarkable to think about a huntable population of moose in the state of Nevada, and I think that illustrates that well. I have two more points. I love the film. Just so you all know, the Western Landowners Alliance has a whole series of films showing you how great grazing is, and they're very aggressive at getting those out there. They're just as well produced, and they're out there. And then finally, I always hate to be Debbie Downer, but the Trump administration's budget actually calls for reducing grazing fees, as you all know, and increasing revenue from grazing. That formula means a whole lot more livestock on public lands. So I think Western Watersheds is well aware of that, but obviously that's the skinny budget at this point. We haven't seen the details of what that would look like.
Yeah, they're looking into land agencies seemingly being tasked with looking into doing programmatic consultations in areas across many forests, looking at whatever additional grazing capacity might be there, including closed and vacant allotments. So we are deeply concerned about this. So that's, yeah.
Can we get a round of applause for our panelists, please? So that concludes today. So tomorrow for our field trip, we are meeting at 7:30 a.m. at the Crystal Inn and Suites. You can just Google that. It's also in the program. We're going to be carpooling. I was an attendee of this conference in 2022 before I worked for Western Watersheds, and one of my favorite parts of the trip was getting in a car with people I didn't know. They ended up being two of my now colleagues. So it's a great place to get to know people, so don't be shy. If you have a car, please bring it, and please allow people to ride with you so we can all go out onto public lands. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending today. Really appreciate it.